Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hadeen, owner of Illustrious Hardwoods in the always sunny Mesa, Arizona. Joining me this week is Jim Upton, the owner of Tiger Mountain Tile, the writer behind DIYTILEGUY blog, and also the Grinder newsletter. Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. We are here to talk about sales training. Jim and I got to talking at coverings, and he mentioned that one of the things he did very, very early on for his career was go and take actual sales training. I thought that was an absolutely phenomenal idea. I loved it because here's what honestly happens. I know your story without knowing you. Check this out. You are a tile guy, a hardwood guy, a carpet guy, an LVP guy. Maybe you're a plumber, an electrician, a drywaller. You're some kind of tradesperson. And you said, man, I'm the best. I'm so good at this. My boss is an idiot. I'm going to go open my own company. And you marched your way down to the Secretary of State's office or whatever it needs to be, and a corporation commission, and you signed up. You filled out the LLC paperwork, and you got yourself an LLC. And you said, I own a business and I'm going to go get projects. And you thought that just because you could do the trade, everything would magically fall in place. I got a feeling it didn't end up that way. And you had to learn how to sell, how to manage numbers, how to manage employees, how to get products from point A to point B and deliver them, and all the other great and many things that business owners do in between. However, why is sales training so important? Because without sales, you have no company. It doesn't exist. There's nobody to perform for or do that service for. So while you may be the best, if you're not selling and closing, you're not doing anything. So we're going to learn about why you need to go learn actual sales skills, what they can do for you, how they can help you get in front of more people, close more deals, and help you communicate what you are actually selling more effectively. Jim's also going to tell us about what he did during the Great Recession to go and pound the pavement and drum up work. And it's a great story. All that being said, Floor Academy is here every week to help you put little tiny things into place so you can take the golden nuggets out of each episode and build yourself a system and process and work on your standard operating procedures so that you can run your company more effectively and get back your time, which is why you actually wanted to run a business, so you had more time with your family or more time to go enjoy your hobbies instead of putting time into the company 18 hours a day. I want to thank our sponsors for their support, and we will hear a couple of messages from them later on. I want you to take a minute, pause the episode right now. It's on-demand content. Pause it. Go to the share button, and you're going to hit share. And you're going to send this link out for this podcast to all of your friends and say what you're enjoying about it so far, or a past episode. Go share your favorite episode, put it on your feed, let your friends know what you like about the episode and why it's so great. Then you're going to go and you're going to click review, and you're going to leave 5 stars, and you're going to leave me a little message. And then if you leave a message on Apple Podcasts about the episode or about the show, I will read it at the end of the episodes, and we will hear about that. But I don't have an advertising budget. I need you all to go advertise for me, please. I would appreciate it. So if the show's doing anything for you to help move your business forward, please take the time to share it with your network so that my reach goes further. My reach only goes so far. I need your help to continue to promote it. That's enough for me. Jim, who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it?
Yes, my name is Jim Upton. I like to hang out and just, work, help people with their podcasts that don't actually go out. No.
Hey, we've
The
had
joke
some
there is
struggles.
we've had technical difficulties for those that will not understand that joke.
And thank you for doing that.
So anyway, my name is Jim Upton. I have a local business here in Issaquah, Washington called Tiger Mountain Tile. And it's tile installation that has morphed into bathroom remodeling. I also have a DIY blog that I blog about tile, and then I have a newsletter called The Grinder, which is for the pro tile audience, and it's just like a monthly newsletter, absolutely free. You can sign up at thegrinder.news and enter your email there. So anyway, that's who I am, why I do it. I didn't get into why I do it, I guess, but.
Well, I mean, let's hit that, right? So, I mean, you've been a tile guy for a couple of years. So
Yeah.
what brought that about?
I just started in, I just jumped into it. And so me and a friend of mine, we were the worst contractors in the world. We just like started a business. I came from a bricklaying background. I worked for a bricklayer for like 4 years,
Hmm.
and he worked as a helper for a contractor, like a combo guy. We used to call them combo guys. I don't know if they still have those or not, but it's like he does vinyl floors. Back in the time, it was vinyl floors, laminate countertops, and maybe, I don't know, some hardwood, maybe a little tiny bit of tile, like a backsplash. You would put in the laminate countertops, put a one row 4 1/4 bullnose splash on there, and that's what a combo guy was. So they didn't have to send a tile guy out just to stick those little tiles on with some mastic. So anyway, that was his job as a helper. We it was a disaster the first year. We had almost no work. He got out after the first year, got married, and I stuck with it and decided to kind of move over to a flooring store and just kind of made my way through it for the first little while. And then I got smart and got a job as an employee where there were some like good experienced guys there, and that's how I really learned how to do tile. After that, so I was at a shop for, I don't know, 8 years or something like that, working with some guys that were really really good.
So you
And
were you were living the dream that I talked about, right? You were the guy. You were like, "Ah, we're so good, we're gonna form a business."
Yes, yes. And thankfully, like, it's a two-pronged thing, because like on one hand, we would have been the guys out there screwing everything up, so we would be getting blasted on social media. Hopefully, like, I wouldn't have a customer blast me, but I might, back
Hmm.
then. But the other part of it is like, the learning wasn't there. And so like now the learning part about the trade is pretty easy because you can just get on Facebook or Instagram or whatever and learn about the trade just kind of like by osmosis. So that's so it just was a little bit different time back then. It stung two different ways.
You were
But
you were
anyway,
forced to learn from those around you previously, and now you can learn through tons of other means, whether it's
yes,
YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. However, we have access to a lot more options now, and information is shared a little more readily as opposed to having to march down to the library, use the Dewey Decimal System, and open up a book
right.
to learn something. And then, yes, you have practical knowledge, but you have book knowledge, but you don't have practical knowledge of having gone and done it. So you have to put it into effect and then try and get better at it on your own. And I think there were people that shared information before, but they wouldn't always teach you everything, right? They would always hold back a little bit. I think the trades have suffered for many years from people not wanting to. They're so afraid you're going to leave and become competition that they held information back. They wouldn't tell you absolutely everything you needed to know.
Yeah, and the other side of that too, though, is that like you didn't always learn the right way.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times guys taught you the wrong way, and that's just the way it was. And it was difficult to figure out what the right way was, and it just was not as easy nowadays as it is nowadays. So there's that part of it too.
So you form this business and you kind of go out, you struggle a little bit. Obviously, your friend got married and left the business, and his wife was probably telling him, "You're not making any money, and you need to support me. So
Yeah, he
you
was
better go
smart.
find
Yeah.
something to do." I don't know about that, but so you're on your own. You switch over to a shop. They're providing you with work. It gives you exposure to more people so that you can learn some more methods and whatnot. But you still have you're still employed on your own. And I have a feeling that, well, you were learning the actual skill side of the trade, you definitely weren't learning anything about the business side of the trade from anyone.
No, and it was harder back then. I knew that one of the ways that guys got burned a lot, and I knew this ahead of time, was with taxes. Like they did not put their taxes away. So that was one thing. Like I tried to be better at with that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the reason I got into a flooring store is because here I am. I'm trying to learn the trade. I'm young, and I really don't have like life figured out yet. So like it's hard for me to get on the job on time. It's hard for me to have the materials I need. It's just stuff like that. Just stuff. I wasn't good at managing money. So there's a lot of things, and then plus not being very good at the job, and plus not, so there's a lot of struggles there that I didn't have later because at some point I learned how to, to do the trade, and I
Hmm.
learned how to manage my money. And so, when I started the second time, I was a lot better off.
So what was the journey, right? So we want to dig into the sales training. At some point, you said, "Man, I got no idea what I'm doing. Like I
Yeah.
need to go get help," which is a huge step for an entrepreneur business owner to take when they're working by themselves. Because there's a lot of pride involved in that you put everything on the line to make this thing go, and you have to sit there and admit like, "Oh, I don't know it all. I need to go get help." And you got to knock yourself down a peg or two in order to go raise yourself back up above where you were at. So what was that even like for you to have to sit there and admit like, "Man, I really suck at this. I should probably go get help."
Well, I mean, it wasn't that hard actually, and I'll tell you why. Because when 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 I started, I started out on my own, and I knew a little bit about running a business and that sort of, I mean, I shouldn't say I knew it, but I had a taste of it in that early business,
Hmm.
like about some of the struggles. Then I worked for 8 years, just doing tile only, just installing as an employee out of a shop, and so I just show up, get my stuff. I learned a lot about doing tile, about the trade, that sort of thing. And then what happened is, this shop that we worked for was probably, I want to say in the heyday. This is, because it coincides with the housing boom and the housing bust. And so in the heyday, like, which would be about 2006, 2007, I'd say there was probably 20 people employed at this time, and it's tile
Okay.
only.
Hmm.
They didn't do other carpet or nothing like that. Uh, Come 2009, 2000, about 2009, things changed a lot, and in the whole economy. A lot of guys, they either kind of moved on and retired. Some of them moved. Some of them just found other jobs. So it got down to like where there was just two of us at the shop, including the
Wow.
owners. But the owners didn't do the work.
Hmm.
They had a sales background, so it was just us two, and they couldn't keep us going full time. And so that was like, and so I was still an employee there. So like when I left on my own, because I got to think, they weren't, the thing is about these guys is they weren't hungry anymore. And so when things kind of
Mm.
slowed down, one of them in particular had, some money saved up and had a plan. And so anyway, so when things slowed down, like they basically would just they'd sit there and wait for the phone to ring. They weren't hungry no more. They didn't go out and try and get anything. The guy would get bored and call his fishing buddies at work. Then it got to the point where he's coming in late and leaving early. And, so like the one thing, like the one thing you're supposed to do is like sit there, but it wasn't easy, like sitting there all by himself.
Hmm.
Because the other guy stayed home because he had a heart problem. So anyway, to skip by all that. So when I started, it was 2009 is when I started my business,
Okay.
and it was desolate. And the one thing, like, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to go and try and poach their accounts. It was really, really tempting to. But it just wasn't ethical to
Hmm.
do
Hmm.
that. So I had to start, like, I needed a whole new network. I needed a whole new everything. And so that's
Okay.
like, it wasn't, I was like desperate for whatever, so I had to like start from scratch, but I was willing to do the work. That was the difference between me and them. And so anyway, I was willing to do the work. I just didn't know what to do, and that sort of thing. So what I did is I, on the advice of one of the contractors that I knew, he told me to join the local building organization, and you pay the fee. It's all the builders are in there. So the idea is you go and you network with them,
Hmm.
and get some jobs that way. So that's what I did. And and then by doing that, also I got access to, like, as a bonus for signing up, I got access to this company that provided building permit, records.
Okay.
Uh, and so I took advantage of that for a year. I got it for a year, and then I had to pay for it after that. Um, so anyway, that's what I did. Is I went in, and by the way, I was not a good at this time, I wasn't a good networker. I wasn't, I've always been a little socially awkward and that sort of thing. Never good at networking events. I was
I
probably the
feel you.
worst networker in the world. Like nothing ever came of me networking with those builders. By the way, I was in there
Oh,
for I don't know how long. But there was
okay.
a good thing that came of joining the organization. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I never got any builders because I was like, networking with them and talking with them and stuff like that. But
Like
what
I
I
get it. I'm the guy that look. You can put me in a room of 50 people, and I will be the guy in the corner. Which is funny because here I am, like putting myself out in front of everybody, right? Like I'm okay doing this. I can get on a stage and speak, but you put me in a room of 50 people and you say like, "Go," and I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. Like I'm just gonna sit here in the corner."
I'm the same way. I'm
I
not a good small talker.
I
I got
feel
to
you.
talk about something. I could care less about small talk. So
Hmm.
so anyway, that it wasn't that didn't really work out. But the building permit thing. So what I did is I started just right. I would take the building permits, and the information was harder to come by back then. Now it's more online, but back then the cities weren't all online, and so you'd have to like go down to City Hall and try and like request information and stuff like that. Um, but this company had a spreadsheet, and you would have the permits in there. You could get any area I think you wanted, and so I would what finally my plan was to download this sheet, and I would go by zip code. I'd like download an entire zip code, or sometimes a couple at a time or whatever, and then I would go on Google Maps and Google. I would print it out. This is before cell phones. I mean, before smartphones. And so I would print it out and have this like route, and then I would know where all the building permits were, and then I would go out in my car and I would take notes and that sort of thing. So like some of them, like sometimes it's just like a deck or something they're doing, so you just cross that one off. Sometimes the project's over with. Sometimes so I would just take notes on like what's happening, and
Okay.
then I had business cards, and so like if ideally I would find whoever the project foreman was or whatever, and hand them my business card. That's what happened. I had no presentation. I had no I was not good that way, but I was willing to like get out and
Hmm.
do it. So that was my saving grace, but I was desperate too. But anyway, I had my business card, and I would just give it, I'd go and hand it and say, hey, I'm a tile guy, if you need any tile work, appreciate it if you give me a call. And then I would walk back to my truck and go on to the next one. Make a note that I left the guy a card.
Look, at least you're
Um,
out pounding the pavement, right? You were looking, and you're using a resource that others probably weren't, and you were getting in front of people, even though it was like, "Here's my card."
yeah,
You were doing something, which is a lot more than a lot of guys and gals do starting out, right? They sit there, they start a business, they tell a couple of friends, they sit on the couch, and they're like, "The phone's gonna ring. I own a business."
right.
Well, for what? Like,
My
why
favorite
would it
is
ring?
my favorite is the guys, and you see them in Facebook. They're all over right now. That they do such amazing work that everybody just calls them from all around the area, and has to hire these guys. Um, which is not, which is kind of ridiculous. To think that your work's so amazing that it's all referral, and it's just they either aren't growing their business, or they have some
Look,
downtimes or stuff like that.
I believe that there are plenty of people that I see the same post, and I see it across multiple industries. There's carpet, there's hardwood, there's tile, there's resilient people. I see it across all of it, and they're all, "You'll only need word of mouth," and I'm like, yeah. I mean, you can grow so big that way, but if you wanted to scale your company further, you're probably going to need more. And most people don't, and that's fine. Right? As long as you're happy with what you have going on, like referral only can work. And I more power to you, because I can't get that to work for me. But I would
It
rather
takes a
find a way
while.
to release. I
It
yeah,
takes a while.
I figured it would take when I formed my business, I was like, I bet you it's 3 to 5 years of trying to get enough clientele under me. And I think by the time I hit like 3.5 years, people were really starting to like, okay, hey, use Kyle, use illustrious hardwoods, do this, do that. And by then, I want to say it was probably 150 clients that I'd serviced, right? Like on average, about 50 a year. And it was less the first year and more each year after that. On average, about 50 a year, one a week. but there's 150 people talking about you. If it's a couple, maybe 300 at max. It's in Phoenix of 4.5 million people. It's not that many, but 300 is way more than where I started at, which was myself and my first client. So there's two, right? So you're right. It takes time. And yeah, if you have 10, 20 years behind you, you can do it. I do find the stories of like, I do find the guys where they're like, I've been referral only since day one. I'm like, it's a
very egotistical thing to say. Yeah. The idea is that these guys are such amazing craftsmen that it's just pour in, and it's kind of just a ridiculous thing. Anyway, I forget where we were.
So we're generating your own leads now, right? You found a way you found a way to attempt to generate leads that wasn't putting you in a room being awkward, and you were handing out business cards saying, I do this, right? It wasn't even I solve a problem for you. It was I do this.
No. Yes, I do this. See you later. Is basically what my presentation
Not even a donut or a coffee.
No, I didn't even think about that. That would have been a good idea. But the thing is like things were desolate at this time. No, it was tough to bring in, and this is like at the heart of the recession, 2009, 2010. So like, I got this because this is like the only plan I had. It's the only thing I could think of that would work. We're still doing the networking thing, but like I didn't know at that time networking would just never pan out, but, but same with this is like, this really didn't work for me, like I kept at it, and I had some work come in. And I had some guys that I knew that we would give each other some work sometimes, but like I was working probably like part time. I'd work a week, then I would have nothing. And then so I'd have to. So this was like I told myself like I have to do this while this is my job. And so so anyway, that's what I would do. I might have a day where I print up like a few different zip codes and come up with my maps, and I had all this paperwork as I went out, and then the rest of the week I would go out and hit these things. And so like I never really got, and nothing happened. I would say I stuck at this for 6 months or more, doing this part-time, like, and I would say it was probably about 20 hours a month or something like that, or 20, I would say like 20 hours a week or something like that, and finally, and I kind of just knew, even though I knew I wasn't good at I knew I should probably try and ask him a question or something like that, but I just kind of stuck with it. And I knew that like if you're like an actress, in Hollywood, how do you get those gigs? You got to just go into the tryouts and the rehearsal, whatever you call it, and finally at some point you're going to get a break, and that's what happened to me finally. Is I finally drove out to the job, and I went in with my I took my business card up, and there was two guys talking outside, and one of them was the foreman, and I just said, I just gave my thing. I said, hey, here, I'm a tile guy, and right when I said that, I saw them look at each other, and then I went back to my car. And here comes the guy following me out, and the tile guys didn't show up like at that. They were supposed to be there that day I was there, and they had a repair to do, and they're having trouble with these guys. And I said, listen, and he had like a house a mile down the road that was just coming ready, and so anyway, I said, listen, I'll do that repair for you for free. I said, I don't have any tools with me. I'll do it tomorrow though, and do that repair, and if I can have a shot at your next house. And so that's what I did. I fixed it took me like an hour or maybe 2 hours to fix the little, I forget what was even wrong with it, but, and then he took me over to the house, and it was like, it was 2 bathrooms and a fireplace and something else, I think, it was a big job. And so I didn't bid it high enough. That whole story, it's not like it's roses after that. At least got me started. I did 3 jobs, guy. And there's a reason this guy was, this guy was not a good contractor, so I went there, but I'd say probably a third of his subs were new, brand new on that job. And, but I did it, and I did it for not enough. And, his jobs are a disaster. They were, everybody's on top of each other, that whole thing. I did 3 jobs for this guy, and that was all I could take. But anyway, that's what started it. It happened from there, from, this guy. They were building these, like these modern homes, modern architecture, the square houses.
Okay. Yeah.
And this was at the very beginning of that trend, like that modern home trend, like minimalism came in, like all that stuff was like brand new back in 2009, And so anyway, they worked for like these two hotshot architects in our area, and there was these two young guys, and I looked them up later. They had some press about them and stuff like that. And so anyway, I got to talking with one of the architects because I would see stuff in the print that like wouldn't work in real life and stuff like that. So we would talk it over and try and come up with solutions. So he got to know me a little bit, the architect, and he said, "Hey, I got this job, or I got this builder that it's building one of our houses. He's from California. He's brand new. He inherited some property up here. He's got no contractors." He says, "So anyway, I'll give him your name, And the guy called me, and that guy ended up being a good contractor. He ended up being to where. Anyway, he was one of the last guys. I got to a point where like I didn't want to work for contractors anymore, but he was one of the last ones that he was with me till the end up there. So he that was a good, you never know what comes out of it.
Well, you got to start somewhere, right? You have to learn what works for you. And I knew, look, I never went and I never learned anything commercial. I just didn't do it. So when I started on my own, I was like, well, I won't go to the commercial world because one, I have no idea how that world operates and I have no contacts there. And I never officially worked for a like larger store that had multiple crews. It was the owner owned a store, and then there was myself and another guy, and we were the installation crew.
Mm-hmm.
When I only ever did residential, and so when I went out on my own, I was like, I guess I just sell to homeowners because that's what I know how to do, right? And so you got to start somewhere, and I've tried to bid a couple things for GCs, and I've never felt good about how they run their. I've one GC that I do like a project a year for. He pays me what I want, no complaints, right? But everyone else is like, oh, come on, let me haggle with you. And I'm like, well, what's it going to look like? And, well, there's going to be this guy and that. I'm like, no, man, I'm trying to do a floor. Like, it doesn't work. But essentially, right, you learn what works for you. You worked 3 times for this guy, and you're like, this guy's a shit show. I'm not putting myself in this situation. And then you developed a better contact, and that worked out. And so it's live and learn, right? That's what we're going through. Is first it was you learn the lesson of someone has to have a problem that they're experiencing in order to call me if I just hand them a card. And you got lucky that they had the problem that day, and they're like, oh, he can save us. So it's the little things that we slowly learn as business owners of how life can, what we need to do to make sure we can continue to perform in the future, because I'm sure now you can ask people like, what problem are you experiencing that I can solve for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot different now. But anyway, that's what worked. And, like you're saying, it's hard. What I found is it's hard to break in with builders. Like you're saying, the guy you have, that guy's good.
Hmm.
That's a good builder. You hang on to him. When I was getting going, I got tired of the builders. They never want to pay you for the prep, and they want to stack everybody on top of you and hurry up, and they don't really they think your job's easy, and it's not really that easy. But the tile guys are
Hmm.
like known as prima donnas a lot of times because we want everything, perfect and all that stuff. And they don't want to deliver it that way. So anyway,
I think any finished trade should be a bunch of prima donnas. I
I
do.
agree.
I don't blame anybody for saying get out of my way. I want it perfect. If the bottom's not nice, it doesn't matter what the outside looks like. It's going to fail. So
Right.
it's
Right.
just it's ridiculous. I'm going to interrupt us real quick, and then we'll get right back into this. Quick word from John's Manville. If you're looking for the perfect waterproofing solution for your tile installations, look no further than John's Manville's Go Board. It's time to say goodbye to worries of moisture damage and hello to durable, easy to install tile backer. Go Board is engineered to withstand tough environments, providing excellent waterproofing protection. Whether it's your bathroom, kitchen, or any other wet areas, Go Board has got you covered. Don't compromise on quality. Choose John's Manville Go Board for the ultimate waterproofing peace of mind. Visit their retailers or ask visit their retailers and ask for Go Board. Visit www.jm.com/Go Board. Okay, Jim,
Go
we're
board.
build.
Good stuff.
Hey, you said it, not me, and I think it's great stuff. Right? It's
I just
reasonable.
used it on my last job.
Works
It's
great.
it's the best value out there in my opinion. I don't know why. I mean, I would think it should take over the whole market, but anyway.
I hear they're working on it. They're little guys right now. They're
Well,
working on it.
their division is little guys.
Yes, they're owned by a very large company, but Go Board itself is small. They're working on it, man. They're like they're the little engine that could. I think
Yep.
people would be surprised to learn what they're working on. But lots of great options out there. But check out Go Board. We appreciate their partnership around here. Jim, so we're working with we're learning, right? We're growing, we're finding out what works for us, what doesn't work. But you're selling projects, but you're still struggling.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'll tell you what happened is, the building organization that I joined. I mean, I so nothing like ever came of that as far as networking, but I did go to the events regularly and all that sort of thing. And what happened was there was one of the events was this guy. It was a dinner, and this guy came through that had sales training. He was a sales trainer, and anyway, he did a presentation, and he was engaging and all that stuff. And then he was smart. He had like a call to action, if you will. That's what they call it nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
as far as like how to follow up, and so he, I left him my name, and then I looked up. So I ended up taking a little class, like a one-off class that he had at his store or whatever you want to call it, building, office,
Okay.
whatever it was. And then I forget what even that was about. It might have been like how to prospect clients or something. It's like a 2-hour class, but the whole point of the class is it's a lead generation thing for him, is what it is. Now that I look back, and so anyway, I met with him about taking some classes, and the classes were really really expensive. I mean, it was a lot of money. I was doing better in my business at this point, but I knew that this guy could help me. And also the other thing is I knew a guy that was a carpenter, and he had taken the classes like back during the business he worked for. They took him as a carpenter and said, "Hey, we think you'd be good at sales." And whoever did that was smart, because this guy
Okay.
he's just a natural salesperson. And so, but he needed training like everybody does. And so anyway, he took the classes, and I knew he did. And so I went and talked to him about it. And he says, because I knew he would be straight with me on if they would, because I was, I didn't know if it was a scam. I'm highly skeptical of salespeople.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, so I knew this guy could help me, and so I went ahead and paid for it. It was a lot of money. But I figured out a way to make it happen, and it changed my life really. Taking these sales classes, it wasn't just changing how I operate in business. It was like there's life skills I learned in this thing that have benefited me today, and it's one of the better decisions I made in life is to take the classes.
What did it at the time? You said it was expensive. What did it cost?
It was like $15,000.
Wow,
So
that's a
I
huge
took
investment when you're broke. Way to be.
well, it was like, and I took I bought I had a couple different options, and I took the most expensive one.
Hmm.
Um, it was, I took the lifetime membership, which I don't even think they give those out anymore, or sell them anymore. I think you can buy like a year, or maybe like a couple years or 5 years or something like that. But I don't even think they do the lifetimes anymore. Um, but anyway, I signed up for the lifetime. I mean, to this day, I can go down. The classes are on Monday, and I can go down
Hmm.
and head in there. I haven't done it for several years, but anyway, yeah, it
Well,
was a lot of money. It
so
was I had to cash
okay,
some savings in
okay. So this
to
is
come
what,
up with
like
that.
2011 or something,
Yeah, probably
roughly.
11, 12, somewhere in there.
Okay, so you've got about a decade worth of sales experience now after taking these classes, and you spent
Yes.
$15,000 on it. And I'm going to guess that you've probably averaged a revenue of over $200,000 a year,
Yeah.
like a gross revenue, right? So 20
Yeah.
years. So we've got 10 years at 200,000. There's $2 million. So you spent $15,000 of it, which is like seven
Yeah.
and a half percent
Yeah.
point. Yeah, correct. I think my math is correct on that.
You got a
Um,
calculator? Yeah.
I do. I'm too lazy to use it. It's seven and
Okay.
a half. At most, it's 7.5%, which is nothing, right? Like,
Gotcha. Yeah.
well, all right. Now I have to do the math. Now it's driving me
My
nuts.
Zoom screen closed up,
It,
so I can't see it anymore. So anyway,
15,000.
no, it's fine. I'm not saying that's a problem. I'm just like, that's why I didn't know if you're on a calculator or
Sorry.
not. But anyway,
Okay,
go
it's
ahead.
less.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's 3/4 of 1%, right? So it's 0.0075, right? Your $15,000 investment into 2,000 or into $2 million of revenue over the past 10 years is nothing. So
Right. It's
yes, it was a
nothing.
lot of money then. It was a hard thing. However, it's what has provided you to be able to move forward. And I think a lot of times contractors miss what's right in front of their face, that you've already laid everything on the line. You said, I can provide for me. I can provide for my family. I will make this thing work. And you've risked your house and your relationships, your vehicles, everything is on the line to get this business to work.
Right.
And then someone comes along and they're like, I'll change your life for $1,000. You're like, well, I don't have it. Dude, really? You got to come up with that $1,000, man, and change your life, because what's the reward on
Hmm.
the back end? I think a lot of times we want that immediate fix, right? Because we're contractors, and so we can go in and we rip out. I talk about it all the time. What's great is, like, you get a constant dopamine hit being a contractor. You
Hmm.
go in and you rip someone's home apart, and they thank you for it immediately. Like, oh, thank God it's gone. It's so ugly, right? And then you start putting in the new stuff, and like, it looks so great. And then you finish, and we're constantly getting rewarded, that to ask someone to get that delayed gratification of, like, give me money you don't have so that you can earn more money for the rest of your life. It's really hard for this contractor, like, artisan mindset to deal with. But in the grand
Right.
scheme of it, you spent nothing on that right now. That's probably the best investment you made into your company, especially early on.
Yeah. Yeah. It was tough, and there was a payment plan. I cashed out some of my, savings that I had and stuff like that. I didn't really want to, but so I just paid the lump sum on it. But there was a payment plan, 24 months. I forget what it was, but
Mm-hmm.
it was expensive, and I knew it was going to take me longer. I had a long ways to go. So as far as sales skills, I wasn't like a natural. I still don't think I'm a natural in the sales aspect. But so I knew it was going to take me longer than a year, I should say, to get going at it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the other option I had. I think it was like 12,000 for a year. It might have been 10,000. I don't remember anymore. But I just signed up for the lifetime. did that,
That's a steal. Look, that guy was probably early on in his business if he's not doing lifetime memberships anymore, because he realized what he had after he built it up a little bit. And he was like, oh, I'm losing money giving these away for 15,000. So
Yeah.
good for
And
you, man.
by the way, he was smart too. He came through the building trades when the economy has decimated. That'd be like, if you have something you could offer the restaurant industry and you came through during COVID, like when everything was shut down and everything, I don't know what you would offer, but that's what this guy basically did. He came through with a solution and he hit the building industry with it. And so it was a smart play by him too. And a lot of contractors. It wasn't just me in there. There was several contractors in this class.
So let's do like top 3 things you learned.
Let's see. So for one thing, the company, it's a franchise. It's called Sandler Sales. So it's David Sandler, Sandler Sales. That's the company. In fact, right behind me here, I don't know if you can see, I got this book right here. It's huge.
I mean, I see that amazing Floor Academy sticker.
Yes,
right there.
I put my little Floor Academy paraphernalia up there. So, but anyway, so that's the book that I got for it. And so I would say, one of the techniques I learned that sticks with me to this day is, and Chris Voss, the FBI guy, talks about this a lot, the no-oriented question. Okay. And I learned this back in with Sandler Sales. And what I liked about Sandler was a good fit for my personality because it's not like real pushy, So like if I said like Kyle, you are, let's say you want to buy a car and I'm the salesman and I say, okay, Kyle, this car has, it's the color you want. It's the mileage. The price seems to be in your range. What's it going to take for you to get into this car? That's like the old style pushy kind of sales, it puts the pressure on.
Yep.
So what Chris Voss, the FBI negotiator guy, who I'm a big fan of, and he's got a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I'm reading this book right now.
Great book. Never Split the Difference, folks. Go get it. Never Split
the Difference. Yes, and Sandler, they had the same thing back, like a decade ago. They called it going negative or staying behind the pendulum. And there's terms there, but anyway, so he would rephrase this. So he would say, Kyle, here's this car. I think it's got the mileage you want. It's the color. I think it's in the budget. And then he'll say, am I crazy to think that if we can get the payments in your range that you might actually drive off in this thing today? And so that's the difference. One feels, and the idea is that people want to tell you no. That's their reflex thing. People want to say no. And so you're using that to your advantage here. So, what you want to get, like he says, go for the no. That's going for the no. That's staying like in Sandler, they call it staying behind the pendulum there. Okay. And so anyway, it's a more natural kind of way of sales, So that's like one of the big things I learned right there is the no-oriented question and kind of staying behind the pendulum there.
Well, you're getting them to say a no that's actually a yes.
Yes, right.
You're not tricking them. You're phrasing it so that they get to use the word that they would prefer to use, but it actually means, yes, I want to move forward with this deal. That's smart. Right. I like that. And look, no doesn't mean no. No only means no when it comes out of a woman's mouth in certain circumstances, and the circumstance I'm talking about, okay? Yeah. Otherwise, in sales, no doesn't mean no. No's an objection.
Right.
Find out the reason. Just ask.
Right.
Why? Have them explain it. What part of my offer don't you like that it's a no? Maybe they say it's the price. Maybe they say they don't like you. Who knows? Find out what they're actually objecting to, because most of the time we just say no with no explanation. This is why little kids drive us nuts. Why? Why? Right? And we have to keep explaining and actually tell them why the answer is no, because they want to actually know. They're trying to learn. So go learn from your potential client what they're objecting to, so you can change the scope of work or change the bid to meet their circumstances. No doesn't mean no. So again, it's really smart to make no mean yes.
Right.
I like that.
Right. And so, yeah, and so that's what it does. And it's just more like it's easier for people to it takes that pressure off. Like if you say like, hey, what's it going to take to get you in this car? And they also like there's a another technique that sales guys use. I think they call it the yes ladder or something like that. And you're supposed to get like 3 yeses and then ask the big yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, and that's the same thing. So it's like, Kyle, this has the mileage you run on it, right? Yes. Okay. It's got the color you want. Yes. It's the paint, and yes. Okay. So you're going to drive off in this today, and now the pressure's on, so that's supposed to, that technique is supposed to be, that's like a sales technique, but they didn't teach that at Sandler. That's not what they're about. It's you're trying to find people, you're trying to like sift through people, find the people that you can work with, and then, and work stuff out in a reputable way,
Mm-hmm.
that isn't going to generate buyer's remorse after they say yes.
Okay. So what's number 2? Like if that was number 1, what's number 2? What
Number
else is
2,
working for you?
so I would say the number 2 thing that I learned a method for cold calling that is phenomenally good. So, and I've done this. I evolved from the guy that showed up on the job site to hand him my card. And then we would go into and do like cold calls, like over the phone.
Okay.
A lot of people say cold calling's dead, but I think in the construction world, it could still be quite effective. So anyway, so like,
well, hold, let me. We're gonna get into this. This is funny, right? Because a lot of people say email's dead, right?
Right.
Did you check your email today?
Absolutely.
Did you read them?
A lot of them, yeah.
There you go. All right, same here. I've already checked it multiple times today. I've read a couple. I've deleted a couple that I knew I didn't want to like have in my inbox anymore. So you're telling me cold calling's dead? I wouldn't get hit by 8,000 stupid robocallers every day if it was dead, and neither would you, listener. Neither would you. There's a reason they're still doing it. It works. Sorry, Jim. Please continue.
No,
you're not wrong, man. It'll work.
You think about in the world of construction, in construction, it's like kind of cool to not be up on technology. There's a like a reverence of old in construction, old
Mm-hmm.
techniques, and I'm not saying that that's wrong, but there's a reluctance to, take on that new thing. And so a lot of contractors, they're not on LinkedIn. You can, it's a good strategy to get in there on their social media. I'm not saying it's not, but a lot of contractors, especially the old guys, they don't run their social media. They understand the importance of it, but they're not going to see that you're in there commenting and stuff like that. So, yeah. Cold calling in construction, small businesses, and a lot of times you can still get the chief, and it's not that hard to do. But anyway, so
what are you doing? All right. Well, okay. So you're telling me I want a cold call, and I can probably get there's not necessarily a gatekeeper in my way, but why do I want to get that person on the phone?
What do you mean, the contractor?
Yeah, like I mean, what's the advantage of me getting them on the phone versus dealing with a bigger company that has the gatekeeper in the way, right? I don't know that a lot of people. I don't know that a lot of the audience understands what the benefit would be of just calling and being able to get to the direct source instead of having to like work your way through it, right? I think it's obvious, but when you're able to meet directly with them, like what are we able to do?
Yeah, I think it's just easier to get, you get in front of like it's a small company a lot of times, is what I'm thinking of. And so you can talk to like the contractor that makes the decision on who the tile guy is, or he can, heavily influence, maybe the foreman is having trouble. Hey, let's try this guy out on the next one. So if you can get in front of the gate, the decision maker, that's what you want to do, And so that's what cold calling can be a way to do that, like just calling up on the phone.
Yeah.
So,
well, mom and pop shops are going to be your best, and there's still plenty of them, right? How many?
Right.
Do you have a personal assistant? Do you have a VA? Do you have an answering service that work? Like,
It's
nope.
just me.
People call Jim, I get Jim, right? People call
Yes,
Kyle,
I
they
am the
get
answering
Kyle.
service.
Exactly. And so you're right. If you deal with these smaller companies, you're probably going to be able to get in. If you want to go work with a giant architect that does tons of commercial projects a year, there's probably an assistant to the architect, but then there's probably like a front desk lady that transfers the call to the assistant. Like, how many
Hmm.
people do you have to get through to get to the person that can actually make the decision for you to get there? Or I can call the guy that just started an architect firm and is hungry for work, and he's like, I got no idea how to pull it off. Like, you start pooling some resources together and you help each other grow.
Yeah, yeah.
I like it.
So, so as far as like cold calling though, cold calling can be terrifying. And because you're the guy, you're now that guy that you hate, on the other end of the phone. The call that you don't want to get, you're now that guy, and it
Mm,
can be very humbling. But they have a technique. Sandler had it was a pretty slick system for cold calling that was kind of ingenious, and I still remember it to this day. So, like, first of all, you got to come up with a 30-second commercial for your business. Okay, this is step one. So the cold call, there's two components of it. There's the cold call to the builder or whoever you're calling, and then there's the 30-second commercial, okay? Because you got to explain what it is that you do. And so the first thing is, and they have a formula for all this stuff, okay? And so the first aspect of the 30-second commercial is you got to figure out what it is that you do and what problems you solve. And you've already talked about the importance of that as far as getting, you talk about solving problems for customers.
mm-hmm.
And so that's what you have to figure out. Okay. So it's going to be different for everybody. And so, like, let's just say, for example, you are like awesome with epoxy grout, we'll say. Okay. You're just like a whiz at it. And epoxy grout is something a lot of people hate. Okay. So now, so you have to put this into a 30-second commercial. You have to like make this into a problem people solve. Okay. So you say like, okay, I'm good at epoxy grout. Okay. Epoxy grout that's boring. That doesn't really solve any problems. Okay. So you have to put it into something relatable. Okay. What problem does epoxy grout solve? Okay. So like, people that, they get their grout joints and the grout joints are dingy and dirty, and they clean them and they're still dingy and they're still dirty, and plus they're supposed to seal them, and the sealing is a pain in the rear.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you're not going to say it like that, okay? But that's how you make it relatable to the person. Okay, that's the problem epoxy grout solves. So that's what you present to the customer. Okay, so this is like one, you come up with like three things. Okay.
Okay.
And so their formula is like, you put an emotion word in there, and then the problem. And so what that looks like is, you say like, I work with people that are frustrated with their dingy grout joints that they scrub and they don't get clean, So
Okay.
that's like that's one thing, so that's like part of it. Okay. You come up with three things. Okay. So it might be, are you worried about, like if you're punctual or something like that, or you're dependable, are you worried about people that are going to show up and tear your bathroom apart and you never see them again, or you don't see them for 2 weeks or something like that? Okay, if that's a problem you solve, you do one job at a time, we'll say, then that's, you put it together. So if you don't make stuff up that isn't something, like if you can't get to the job on time, don't advertise that you're punctual. Don't
Mm-hmm.
be dumb about it. Like do things that like you do well. Put them together. Three things, right? So that's your 30-second commercial. You say, "Hey, my name's Kyle. I'm in what is it, Mesa, Arizona. My business is whatever. I work with customers that are frustrated over whatever problem. I uh, I work with customers that are worried about their dirty grout joints that they can't get clean,
Okay.
and so you put all three things together. Okay, so that's your 30-second commercial, and then you're going to package it with the phone call, and the phone call is great. So like first thing, like the formula for the phone call is you call up. and you have what they call a pattern interrupt. Okay. And they have different examples of interrupts. I don't remember what they all are. I just remember the one that I used. And the one I used goes back to that whole thing about taking a no for an answer, right?
Okay.
Or people telling you no. So what I would do is you call up and they answer the phone, right? And you say, "Is this a bad time?" Okay, it kind of takes them out of there. They call it a pattern interrupt. It's not quite what they're expecting. There's a big difference too, by the way, of is this a good time and is this a bad time? Okay, you don't ask is this a good time because that's going for the yes. And by the way, it's never a good time. And so you call up, is this a bad time? And a lot of times people will say no. They say no, and they know like they shouldn't really say no. But there, so that's the pattern interrupt. Okay. Is this a bad time? They say no. And you say, I tell you what, with that 30-second commercial, I would time the thing. And so I would have it like, let's say it's like takes 37 seconds. Okay. I would time it, multiple times until I knew like how much time it took. And so that way, when I call the people up, is this a bad time? No. Okay. My name is Jim. I have a local I have a local. Sorry, I'm out of practice on this. So, I have a local company, and I wanted to make sure I'm local. I would say my town. My town is Issaquah. That's a name that there's only one Issaquah in the United States, so that people know I'm not like at a call center in I don't know Indonesia or something like that. They know that they're dealing with somebody in their community. And so I would say, hey, this is Jim with Tiger Mountain Tile in Issaquah. Can I have 30, or I would say, if I can have 37 seconds of your time, I'll tell you why I'm calling, and then you can tell me if you want to talk further. Okay. So there's that's the beginning of it. And so there is it's not slimy. It's not pushy. It puts them in control, right? They feel like they're in control because now they can tell you like they only have to listen for like a little bit. You don't say like, can I have a minute? Because a minute is could be like 5 minutes or something. So I would time it and give a very specific time of whatever my 30-second commercial was. I'd say, hey,
yeah,
go ahead.
Well, you're catchy because it's oddly specific. Like if you were asking for 37 seconds, I'd laugh because I find the number 37 funny, but that's a whole nother story.
Okay.
But it's oddly specific of, can I have this exact amount of time? Now I want to know, like, what can you tell me in 37 seconds?
Right.
Like, now I have to find out. Like, I don't even care if I'm interested or not. I just want to know what you can convey in 37 seconds. So both of that, the pattern interrupt thing and saying is now a bad time. Well, no. Okay, cool. Hey, I'm Jim. I'm from Issaquah with Tiger Mountain Tile. May I have 37 seconds of your time?
Right. But also there's a contract in there. Yeah, there's you want to make sure that so the thing with Sandler sales, like everything they do what they call an upfront contract. Okay, every interaction has an upfront contract, and so that's what it with this 30-second or with this cold call, that's what it is. So it's pattern interrupt and then upfront contract. That's what they call it. Okay, and so you have a contract, and so they know at the end of that 7 seconds, I'm going to stop talking, and then they can hang up. They can do whatever they want.
Okay.
So anyway, so that's what it is. So it's can I have 37 seconds? And I'll tell you why I'm calling. You tell me if you want to, continue the call. And then you do your 30-second commercial that has the, problems that you solve. And then you say, I don't suppose, you do the negative question thing again. I don't suppose you have any of those issues though, do you? And that's the formula.
Okay.
And a lot of, and you'd be surprised how many people are like, well, there's that one thing that, you said that like is their pain point or something like that, that they want to now talk to you about, So it worked well for me. I ended up doing this later, even after I got going a little bit because it was a good way to get in front of the builders that I wanted to try and work for.
Okay.
And anyway, so that was like, you talk about point number 2, Kyle. That was point number 2 that I took away is
I love it.
the technique for doing the cold calling, and it's very non-slimy, it's very
Hmm. Hmm.
non-salesy. But it's effective. So
It's fun. It goes. So I just did a webinar in storytelling, and you was talking about like building this 30-second commercial. It's very much in line with the things I was talking about of being able to identify a problem for someone and then explaining how you solve it. A lot of times, what happens is we go and we hard sell everything. I install tile. Call me.
right,
10% off flooring today. Call us. I don't give a shit. So like I don't. Great.
right,
You are cramming down my throat right now exactly what you do, and all I was trying to do was drive down the road. Or I love I mentioned it where it comes from is Shannon Vogel. In my interview with her, we're talking about like doing organic social media, and she sets up this beautiful story of she's our ideal target client, right? She's female, she's mid 40s, and she gets done with work, she sits down on the couch with her glass of wine, she grabs her iPad at the end of the day, and she's scrolling through it, and she's interested in her family and friends.
hmm
And here you are, 10% off tile. I, who cares? Like, skip. Now, if you put a pretty picture and all of a sudden you convey that, you know, this leaking shower or this moldy shower or this ugly shower, this is something that woman on the couch with her glass of wine probably identifies with. And so you're coming up with these things that this person's going to say, oh, I have that problem. I need that. I need you in my life. I need Jim right now. Please, Tiger Mountain Tile, come solve this. And it's amazing what story can do when you put. The problem with storytelling is that we want to tell it from our perspective, and
right,
of course, in our story, we're the hero. We
right.
solve everything, right? We're the greatest. We are, I don't know who we are. Bruce Willis in Die Hard, right? We're gonna save the day. What's his name? John McClane. We're John McClane.
Or the Rock
Except
or something. Yeah,
they don't care about you being John McClane. They want to go be John McClane. They want to
right.
say
They're the hero.
they want to say like yippee ki motherfucker. Okay, they want the cool line, and you're not allowing them to have it. And so when you change it and you let them realize that you can solve their problem, but they hired you to solve, like they feel so superior, right? Oh, I came up with it on my own. They get to be the hero in the story now. And that's what matters. Like it's amazing how many different things we can kind of interconnect and what people know without knowing it, what they find works for sales and whatnot. And they're incorporating all these other little psychological tricks and things like that, and they may not even realize it. So no, I
Right.
absolutely love that technique. It'll work. Look, it doesn't have to be a cold call thing. This is just if someone calls you, these techniques will work. Or if you're trying to call someone back and follow up, these techniques are going to work to better sell your project.
Yeah, just along those lines, you're talking about scrolling through the social media, and
Mm-hmm.
like, so if you get through the social media and like that one, that's your time, your feed, and then like what comes up is like, hey, I do tile, like you're saying, that's not good. But what if it was like what comes up in your feed is, are you planning to do a renovation and you're worried about getting the right contractor, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what if it just started out that way, because now you're putting you in there instead of like, hey, this is me. And so like another example of that, like when you do your listing, like on Facebook or like your Google business page or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, describe your business. Okay, what do? What most people do is they put I am, you want a good, you want to present yourself well. I am Tampa's premier tile contractor, or you don't say we are. You say
Yes.
we are Tampa's premier flooring contractor, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares what you do. But if you say, hey, are you worried about your shower leaking? That's different. That comes across. We then you can say, we are shower specialists or something,
Yes.
but you want to identify their problem. And the practice of figuring out what you do and how that solves customers' problems. That's something every business should do. You don't have to. It's just something you should figure out because you're going to use it in every aspect of your business. And you want to put
Definitely.
it plainly, right? I don't do epoxy grout. You solve the dirty grout joint problem. You think like a guy that was a master at this is Donald Trump. Like he puts things in that plain sort of language and connects himself with the people that he's looking to connect himself with. And so you just think like that kind of thing, like that plain language. Our tendency is to try and like talk like formally a little bit, and it doesn't work. Just put it, I mean, don't swear or nothing like that, but just put it plainly, and you'll connect with people.
Yeah.
So anyway,
look, connect with the homeowner on the homeowner's level. If they want you to be technical, then be technical. If they're just your average lady of the house, shut up and let her pick a color, because that's what she cares about.
Yeah.
All right, number 3, last one.
Okay, number 3 is not so much. Like, it's not a technique. I can't go over it like we just did.
Okay.
But the number 3 thing I learned is how to process. They talk about having a system, and I don't know how much time we got left here, but one of the exercises I remember that they did is they took the class and they split us into 2 groups, and they said, this is the buyer group, this is the seller group, okay, and the buyer, and so like we were going to have like this meeting. And so the buyer's got to buy a tchotchke. They have to come up with some sort of strategy on how to buy, some tchotchke off the seller group. And same thing with the sellers, sellers had to come up with a strategy as far as, what they want to get out of this meeting, and it helped me, like you're talking about, like seeing things from the customer's perspective. And this is what, like I was in the seller group, and we know like what it's like to sell, right? So we don't want to, we don't want to estimate like 10 different ways. And we want to get, like we kind of want to know if the price is going to work and stuff right away. The buyer group, they want to, they want all your information. In fact, it was Shauna from GoBoard that just posted about this morning on her. I don't know if it was on her page or it was probably on hers, but about, the gal that went to a job interview and they wanted her to do a plan for the whole marketing plan for the whole year. And what they wanted is they wanted free information from her, and so, buyers, they want us to come out to the job site. What do we know about their house? Maybe, what do we know about the builders in that area? What are other people doing? Do we see any problems, or do we, is there water damage maybe that we see, or do they have a certain kind of pipe that is going to cause problems, And then they want us to estimate everything. Can they use our discount? Anyway, all that stuff is like what motivates the buyer. They subconsciously are this is their system, like subconsciously. They don't even, they don't sit down and plan it out like this. But and then they want us to give the estimate, do the pricing, all the different ways, and then they'll get back to us maybe, right? And so the Sandler, it taught me how to have a system for processing this. And so, the first part of it is like trying to weed people out, and then the second part is the sales call, and you go about the sales call in a certain way. And then at the end, you're going to agree. With Sandler, you talk price at the sales call, and at that point, you're going to you're either going to agree to move on, or so there's some sort of an agreement at the end of that call.
Okay.
The sales call, and it could be like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and write this up. It could be like, hey, listen, this isn't a good fit, and then you quit, you just cut bait right then. And so anyway, that's what there's a process for dealing with people, and it helped me tremendously as the economy, like just, in the last few years has been cooking. And it's helped me to process and waste as little time as possible with the wrong people.
I like it. So, I mean, you're talking about pre-qualifying, which I love. So I'm going to ask you, you're saying talk price and be able to weed people out. Are you charging for consultations?
I
to
don't
go?
know.
No. So you just get
No,
them to
and
agree to a price and you'll still head out?
yeah, so no. So I don't see, and I know you and I have disagreed on this. So I do not talk price at the initial call. Okay, so like when and so like when I'm waiting them, I want to get them on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't text with people. Okay.
Okay.
In fact, I just had somebody text me. It annoys me when they, like we'll text later, but like it annoys me when people text me right off the bat. And so I had somebody just do this recently, and I said, "Hey, can you email me this information?" And so anyway, so they email it. I set up a time to talk with them. Okay.
Okay.
And so I can get some idea what they want to do. Okay. So then I want to know, and I've gone over this stuff. I want to know like how they found me. I want to know what they're working on. I want to know kind of what what they think it might run and that sort of thing. I want to know like, how much time they spent into researching my company. I'm just trying to figure out like if they're serious, how serious they are about it. I believe that if you what was I going to say here? I think like charging for the initial call, I think is a shortcut that a lot of people use because they don't want to continue to hone their their weeding out process. So I think if you have to charge because you're still going out to too many of them, I think you need to like up your game in your questioning and stuff like that on that initial consultation.
Okay. So I use it for a different purpose. It's a matter of I want you to be as serious as me because I'm going to come out and give you a bunch of information and knowledge, right?
Right.
So I need you to give me some kind of reciprocal trade, but there's a psychological factor behind it of if I can get you to give me $1 and I keep coming to you and I'm like, hey man, can I borrow $1? Hey man, can I borrow $1? I'm going to be able to come to you and be like, hey Jim, can I borrow $10? And you'll give me $10. And then, come back in a little while later, can I borrow $10? And you'll probably give me 10. And hey, can I get 100? Right? If you give me a little bit of money, it becomes infinitely easier to give me a larger sum of money. So if I can get you to give me that small consultation fee to come out and measure everything, because I'm providing you with all the answers in the scope of work that's very detailed and tells you products and all of the stuff you need that you could take and then bid against other people, and you have all the information, right? Because I'm not I'll give everything line item. It's not here's what I'm going to do and give me $50,000. It's
right.
Here's absolutely everything. Go take this and you can shop it against anyone, right? It gives you the square footage and everything. So you're buying the information and you're buying my time to give you the consultant as an expert on it. That's where I think the difference of what I'm charging for is I'm not charging to, I'm charging it to kind of weed you out as like the last thing of like, are you really just like kicking tires here? Or are you serious about getting this work done in my company? Like how much have you really done? Are you interested in me? Now, granted, I use that a lot more when my schedule's way booked out compared to when it's not. If I get under a certain point, I'll go look at everything because I have more opportunity getting in front of people than I do not.
Right. No, and that's an important point. Like if you have time, like you need to, if you got a soft spot coming up, you just go out and bid it, and that sort of thing. So, I mean, this is like kind of the nuances of it. The important part is having a system,
Yes.
that you can repeat. For me, a lot of times, and I know you and I disagree on this one too, like where people will give numbers, like ballpark numbers over the phone. And that's, I don't do that personally, or I should say there's an asterisk on this. Okay. But I do it sometimes if I still have that feeling and I have not quite got to I haven't been able to quite weed them out.
Okay.
And so I use it as a shortcut, and I understand it's a shortcut, and I try and go back to the drawing board and figure out how I could have done better. But for the most part, I don't do that because, if you just throw a number out there, you're gonna turn people away that otherwise you might be able to, help them appreciate the value of it during the sales call. And so anyway, so I'm a fan of you don't talk budget until you get into
Hmm.
the emotional reasons for buying. But I understand a lot of people do
Okay.
it. I understand you have to manage your time,
Yes.
and whatever works for you, it works for you. I just have a little system and I do it a little bit different.
Look, keyword there is manage your time, right? You have to
Yes.
have a system. You can't willy-nilly your way through this. Develop something, write it down if you have to, but do it the same way every time so you're consistent. I think at the end of the day, I don't care how you land your sales and get it done. Don't rip people off, but let's be ethical about it. But I don't care how you
Right.
do it ethically.
Right.
Your way is going to be different than mine. There's a lot of different ways to sell,
Right.
but do it consistently the same way and have backup plans of, well, that didn't work. Okay, I can change this and I can change that. I think that's really where this is going, right? Is
Yeah.
have a system that works for you, and you can add or take away from certain aspects of it as needed to control the flow of business that you're receiving.
Right. And the thing, and to tie this back to, that the when I took that class and they divided us up into the two groups,
Hmm.
the rule behind it was if you don't have a system, you're going to default to the buyer system. And the buyer system does not work. It's not in your interest. It does not work for you. And so I'm not saying like you come up with your system and make it all about you. You have to make it fair. But if you don't have a system, you're like, hey, can you we'd like to have you come out and bid this, so you run out there and like, it's you could have weeded them out on the phone, so
Hmm.
you need to have a system for processing people, and that's what it's all about.
Excellent advice. I think we're going to leave it there. I do want to hit on one thing. You definitely said that the homeowners are going to have you out and they're going to ask if they can use your discount.
Yes.
I'm not
I
going to
mean,
get on a soapbox. I'm not going to get on a soapbox. If you're giving your discount to your clients, you're doing it wrong.
right.
That is your discount for your investment into that company to build the relationships for them to give you the discount. And you are supposed to sell at retail so you make money for handling the material. Stop cheating yourself and your family out of money.
Right.
Done.
Or just let them supply it, have it all there and be responsible for anything that goes wrong with it.
Okay, if you're going to be responsible for material you didn't sell and you're not making money on it, charge more in labor
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're whether you provide it or not. The minute you touch it, you're responsible for it.
Yeah.
Take it
Yeah.
into account. You have to look at the entire scope of the project. If that thing fails and you have to rebuild it, the tile's
Right.
coming out of your pocket. They're not providing it again. You got to make your money somewhere. Make
Right. Yeah,
your
that's a good
money.
point.
Like I hate that. Oh, I draw on clients by offering my discount. What is the matter with you?
Right.
That's for you to make money. We're in business to
Right.
make money.
Yeah, tell
Go
them
learn
what
how
you
to
can buy it
sell.
for and put a markup. And if they don't like it, they can get it. They can do something else.
Correct.
So
There's plenty of options out there. They can get something cheaper, right? We don't have to be
yeah,
giving away our discounts to do this. We are way too valuable. Go learn sales, and then you'll be able to sell at a higher price, right? That's
right,
Jim.
right.
Do you close more deals now and at a higher rate because you
Oh,
learned how
definitely,
to go sell? Okay.
definitely,
I,
and waste less time. It's like I said, it's been life changing for me just because it's kind of taught me just how to like ask questions and stuff like that. Like a lot of times you assume
mhm.
what the answer is, and nowadays I just have questioning strategies and stuff like that. Just in like I said, just in real life. It has nothing to do with business.
I think all of us should repeat this after me right now. Okay, this is key. If you own a business, you need to say this. I am not a contractor. I own a business. I am now a salesperson. You opened the business. You may own it, but you became a sales and not a contractor the minute you did it because you can't
Hmm.
contract without sales.
Yeah, I
If
like the
you
sales aspect of our business. So
I love it, man. I love
yeah,
talking to people. I guess that's why I'm here doing this, right? But I love
yeah,
being able to talk and chat and learn about people and solving problems. So if you can't sell, if you're struggling, Be like Jim. Go get sales training. You don't have to necessarily spend $15,000, but there's options out there. You can start with something smaller.
Yeah. Keep in mind that was like
with inflation.
That was a decade ago, so it's probably more expensive now.
With inflation now, it's probably 30.
Right. Yeah, probably.
But look, there's options out there. Listen to a book, folks. It's free. You can get audio books from your library. You can go get a podcast that's not Floor Academy, although I should definitely be like your top one for sure. But there's other podcasts. There's sales podcasts. There's leadership podcasts. You can go learn. I don't know what's the most popular one, or like the horror murder. Katie Marcotte's around, I think, still.
Yeah,
she loves her murder mystery true crime ones. There's a podcast for everything. You can learn for free. The whole point of this show, the original motto was learn while you earn. You ain't got nothing else to do during the day while you're installing. And I've said it 100,000 times. The music you grew up with isn't getting any better, and the crap they put out now is even worse. So cut out music and go learn something. And no, you don't have to pay attention the whole time. One golden nugget at a time will move you forward. If you can take one thing away, you're one thing ahead of everyone else who only listened to music that day or didn't listen to anything. It's not that hard, but you have to go be responsible for you and change who you want to be and what you want to accomplish. But the information is out there, and if you're not willing to pay for it, go get it for free and actually act on it. That's the biggest problem. Oh, Jim acted on it because he spent $15,000, and he damn well wasn't going to feel like an idiot after spending $15,000 and doing nothing with it. So sometimes having the money behind it holds us accountable because we need that. And that being said, you should check out our mastermind groups. Okay. If you like stuff like this, come join a Floor Academy mastermind group and get in with 4 other motivated business owners that want to move their business in a positive direction, grow it, and are having the conversations about their goals and their struggles every other week and how they want to change and get it bigger. And they're actively working towards all of these goals every 2 weeks, because if they show up to the meeting and they tell the other 4 people plus myself as the facilitator, oh, I didn't do anything, you feel really dumb because you told everyone what you were going to do and then you didn't deliver on it. So it's a great way to move it forward, and you get the insights from other business owners, some of which have already been through what you're going through and can help you skip a lot of steps and pain points. So go check that out. flooracademypod.com/mastermind. Check out the video, set up a call. Happy to talk about it. And I ain't even going to lie, I'm undercharging for it. It's $350 a month. It should be way more. It should be like $1,000 a month, because that's how much value is there. I want to help you. It's reasonably priced so that I can help the people that need it the most. The guys that are struggling to do $10,000 to $20,000 a month, it's for you. Let's get you moving forward where you want to go. All right. That's that. Jim,
yes.
we talked a little bit about the grinder. Where did they find it again? If you're a tile guy and you want to know more about what's going on in our industry, go subscribe to the Grinder newsletter, which is found at
thegrinder.news.
Get it, folks. Go subscribe. There's not nearly enough people subscribed for Jim to be happy or me to be happy. We talked about it earlier off air. It should be way bigger.
It's free.
Yeah.
It's free. It's short, and it complements everything you're already knowing. So
look, he's got a fun quiz in there. He tells you where all the trainings are for the upcoming month. It all across the U.S. Like I don't know that you have every training, but you got damn near most of them for sure.
I look for all the I got the podcast roundup.
Yep.
I've got the which, by the way, you have been the most consistent podcast in the thing.
Woo!
So anyway, as we're doing this, I'm realizing I should apply my own stuff that we just talked about and figure out what problem my newsletter solves and pitch it to contractors in that manner. So instead of saying, hey, it's free and you'll like it. So anyway,
it's got all the information you need to be educated about what's going on in your industry, whether it's stuff that's been found, like when they found the new mosaic in Rome, or there's a training or some company released something, you do a really good job of putting together like major things that took place over the last month into your newsletter. It's great.
Yes, all the news in 5 minutes.
It's done really well. So go do that. If you have questions about, for Jim about what he's got going on, then where can people find you?
They can find me at, so you can go to the Grinders Facebook page. You can like that if you want. I've got this is going to a pro audience, but I have a blog called DIY Tile Guy. So that's good for you can send your customers there sometimes. And anyway, and then also my business, Tiger Mountain Tile. So just the Grinder's the best way to get a hold of me. Just like the page, and you can DM me through Facebook if you want.
Perfect. I love it. All right. What do we got? We got to do something to close this out here. So learn sales. It's super important. We got a message from our sponsor, and then I got a review, because if you leave a review and it's 5 stars, I'll read it on air.
Nice.
Hey listeners, it's nearing show season again, and I want to remind you that the International Surface event is returning to Las Vegas January 24th through 26th. Mark your calendars now for the okay, it's always hard to read them the first time. Mark your calendars now. Floor Academy podcast listeners will have the opportunity to register for free once again when registration opens in September using the promo code Kyle. It's not hard to remember. Just type in my name, 4 letters, KYLE. Whether you're an installer, retailer, distributor, or serve in another capacity within our industry, attending TICE is a solid resource to expand your knowledge and networking base. You can also learn about the newest industry-leading products coming to market. Stay up to date with the International Surface Event page on Facebook or online at intlsurfaceevent.com. Use my name, not till September, but then go and register and put my name in, and you get your free complimentary exhibits pass. Now, I will say that it's the 23rd through the 26th. They have the education day on Monday, where, look, Jimmy, you're a tile guy. You probably go to like the NTCA meeting and miss all the education stuff on Monday. You get caught up in all that stuff.
Yes.
But technically Monday, or maybe they moved it this week, the day before January 23rd, that's what I know. I don't know what day it is. January 23rd, there's a day of education. And then the show officially opens on the 24th, 25th, 26th. And then we're out of Vegas. But come
and this
hang
is what,
out.
January or February?
January. It's in January. Yeah, there was a conflict with one of the other big shows. I don't know. So it's always at the end of January, early February.
Yeah, it's always around that same time. Sometimes it lands in February, though.
Yeah, 24th through 26th this year. I know we got a while. It's July. But look, get ready, because it's coming, and it's going to come before you know it. All right.
Oh,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No.
I was going to say, one thing I'll say about the services event ties is that if you live in a northern climate like I do, I'm up in Seattle, it happens every year, like about that time in the winter when you just got to get the heck out of here. So it's a great time to go to Las Vegas. It's usually around 70 degrees, and it's a nice little vacation during that time.
It is. And you get to hang out with all your friends at network and have amazing conversations. If you get nothing out of a show other than going and have great conversations with people from the industry all around the U.S. or even possibly the world, then you won. If you don't find a new product, if you don't find a new vendor, but you had some great business conversations, you totally won in my book. That's what it's about. Like, I like finding new vendors. I like finding new products and seeing what's going on. But honestly, I go for the conversations that I get to have with my friends and friends that I make while I'm there, because that's what's going to change what you're doing, are those conversations, in my opinion.
Agreed.
All right. East Texas Floors has a lot to say. It says, fantastic podcast. I'm floored. Hey there, podcast lovers. Today I wanted to share my thoughts on a podcast that has truly been a game changer for me as a flooring industry professional. It's called Floor Academy, and let me tell you, it's a gem. What sets Floor Academy apart is its unique focus on all sides of our flooring industry. As a retailer myself, I love how this podcast dives into various aspects beyond just my own niche. It's refreshing to gain insights and perspectives from different angles, and it has widened my understanding of the industry as a whole. One thing I absolutely admire about this podcast is the host skill in guiding their guests. The conversations flow effortlessly, making it incredibly easy and enjoyable to listen to. The well-rounded approach they take, along with the diverse range of guests they invite, keeps the content fresh and engaging. Since tuning into Floor Academy, I have been truly inspired to up my game in every aspect of my business, East Texas Floors. Hey, go check them out, all right? Go look them up. The valuable discussions, expert advice, and success stories shared on the show has motivated me to strive for excellence and push my boundaries. It's like having a mentor whispering in my ear, urging me to reach new heights. To sum it up, Floor Academy is not only informative, but also entertaining, with its well-guided discussions, inspiring content, and bits of humor. It's a must-listen for anyone in the flooring industry. Give it a shot and prepare to be floored. Keep up the fantastic work, Kyle, and thank you for lighting up my entrepreneurial journey and helping me learn as I earn. Man, those are really kind words. I'm not going to lie. I posted them in the Floor Academy group the other day when I found that review. Like, that's really touching. Thank you. I'm so thankful that you find it this helpful, and it's nice to be recognized every once in a while. I'll be honest, the guests, my guests give me more feedback that they get reached out to more than I do, and I'm kind of jealous. I'm not gonna lie. So it's really nice to like have these come in. I'm glad everyone finds it helpful and inspiring, and you feel like you got a mentor encouraging you along the way. That's absolutely awesome. So keep at it, East Texas Floors, and give me a call if you want. I haven't done this in a long time. Jim, what's a good book, man? Give me a book. Besides, we talked about Never Split the Difference. Give me a great book.
Let me think here. What's a good book? Trying to think of what I have on my phone here. I don't like read a lot of books anymore. So,
read, listen to, whatever.
Yeah, I don't even listen to them. I'm like, we're in a different time now, and I think blogs and small,
Okay, you got a blog you like? What do you got? Give me a resource where we can go learn. Where does Jim educate himself for fun?
Well, I am a big fan of DIY Tile Guy, but
you write that. You don't learn from it.
I know. Well, sometimes I got to research stuff.
Correct.
But anyway, let me think here. What's a good book would be? Let me think. Never Split the Difference is a good. Oh, I would say like Jocko's book is probably good.
Oh, that's my Extreme Ownership.
Yes.
Oh, so good.
That's my next one that I want. That's the next one I'm going to read. But it's I watched some of his like clips and stuff like that, and the guy is on it as far as like accountability goes. And
yes.
So I'm very interested in what.
If you look, great book. That book summed up, you were responsible for you. And I don't care about the circumstances outside of it or who created it or who didn't do it, right? If you have a bad employee in your company, who hired them? If you're small, you. If it's a larger company, you probably helped design the hiring process. Again, it's on you. It's all about ultimately everything falls on you. You got a problem, you better fix it. You're responsible for everything that happened down the chain. If you have that way of thinking, your company will be run so much better. It's awesome book. Awesome.
So let me throw one more out, okay? Because this I just needed a second to think there.
Okay.
So the a book that like made a big impact on me is not so much business, but it's just as far as how money works. It was Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah. And that was a book that made it like I read that and it just made a huge impact on the way I thought about things and assets and liabilities and, buying boats and buying businesses or something or stocks, So Rich Dad Poor Dad, it's an easy read and it made a big, big impact in my life when I read it.
Yeah, no, another great book. Robert Kiyosaki is awesome. He's got a system that works for him. I'm not into leveraging debt. If you want to leverage debt, hey, you go do you. But like the way he breaks it down, it'll give you a mindset. I like to take all of it and I'm going to form my own system based on what works for me between all of these people, call them a guru, whatever you want. Right. But I'll take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I'm going to find something that works for me. So,
yeah, for me, it wasn't so much like some of his stuff is kind of, I don't know, riskier than what I want to
Hmm.
participate in. So, like, if you have a preconceived opinion of him, I would kind of just he talks a lot of doom and gloom these days. But the original book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I think the one after that, it was fantastic, and I still recommend them. So,
Yeah, awesome. All right, guys, go check that out. Remember, learn while you earn, and go to flooracademypod.com. Check out the shop. Check out the mastermind groups. Get a shirt. Get a hoodie. Grow your business with the masterminds. If you want to help support the show, go to patreon.com/flooracademy. Even $5 a month goes a long way in helping the show to continue happening over here. I appreciate all of the support I have from my Patreon supporters. You can see them listed on flooracademypod.com. If you got feedback, it's really easy. Just flooracademypodcast@gmail.com. And that'll do it for us this week. We'll catch you next week with a new topic and a new person. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate you putting up with all of the technical difficulties.
seems like time just flew by here, Kyle.
Oh, good. Perfect. I appreciate that.